This is Gwen.
Hi.
She's in Japan now.
And I'm having McDonald's.
She's on a flight back to Korea. I have some questions about TOEIC speaking test. This is Gwen.
Hi.
She's in Korea? No, she's in Japan. You're in Japan.
I live in Korea, but I'm in Japan right now.
About part one. If I encounter unfamiliar words, I don't know how to pronounce. What should I do?
Many people ask me about this all the time. And if it's just a normal word, then you should be able to read it. But like if, for example, it's a name of a person sometimes or name of a place, then some foreigners might have a hard time reading those names or, names of the places. I tell them, if you know phonics of English, you should know how to make the relevant, equivalent sound of A, B, C. That's how you read each letter in that word. As long as you can do that, there should be no problem, is my answer.
Let's move on to the second question about part two. My question is is it better to use long sentences with difficult grammars to get good score?
For part two?
For part,
I think for part two, you don't even have to go over 5 or 6 words. You can just use very simple sentences. And if you want to sort of add more information, I guess you can use some prepositional phrases talking about exact location of what you're talking about. But when you're describing a picture, I don't recommend using any complicated grammar or even words. I have my students use simple words all the time. For example, holding, looking at, talking, or carrying, listening to. Those are some words that always come up on those pictures. So as long as you can use those words, I don't think it should be a problem.
Oh, I have one more question. If you are cut off, does it affect your score?
It depends on how much you've been describing. And if you were able to talk about most of the things that existed in the picture, at the point when you were cut off, it's not a problem. But it was a picture of maybe 2 people, and then you were talking about only the first person, and then you got cut off. It's going to affect your answer or your score negatively. So you should be able to, when you first look at the picture, you should be able to plan out how you will be talking or how much you'll be talking about each element in the picture, and then you just have to move on. And you always got to be checking the time. I always tell my students that looking at the timer is very important.
About part 3, is it enough to say 2 sentences? 2 weeks ago, I went to Kyoto and I went there with my brother too. Is it enough to get a full scale, or I have to say more, one or 2 more sentences?
Okay, so people ask me all the time for part 3, the answers have to be 15 seconds, and then the last one is 30 seconds. And, when people ask me how many sentences, and it's really hard to say because people like me who are really fluent, I guess I could say more than 5 to even 7 sentences in 15 seconds. But if you're not fluent enough, I guess you always get stressed about how much I have to say. And I always tell my students that 1 sentence, 5 seconds. So that means if you want to give sufficient answer for 15-second answer, then it has to be at least 3 seconds. 3 to 5, I would say.
Okay.
And for 30-second answer, I guess it's times 2. So 6 to 10.
The question about part 4.
Part 4, yes.
On the third question, they always ask you something about that has 2 options. So do I have to use 2 different sentence structure? There's a seminar, something, and I can use the same sentence to say the second option.
For beginners, I tell them to use the same sentence structures. But what part 4 wants you to do is they want to see if you can use passive and active voice sentences. So it's better to show 1 using passive voice and 1 using active voice if you can. But in the process of saying those two different sentences, like if you get them mixed and get your grammar wrong, I think it's better to just stay with one sentence structure. So if you're like confident using both, then I'd highly recommend it. But if you're not so confident, I mean, first of all, practice and try to make it confident. And if you can, for the test, I think it's better to just stay with one.
And my last question is about part 5.
Part 5. Okay.
And some people say that you have to think of 2 reasons. And some people don't. What do you think? And also, again, do I have to use difficult sentence structure? And do I have to use long sentences?
Okay. Well, I'm one of those people who say you don't have to say, provide 2 reasons and 2 examples. It's unnecessary, first of all. I mean, I always get full marks just using 1 reason and 1 example. But some books and instructors say that, you gotta provide 2 reasons and 2 examples. But first of all, you don't have enough time to say, 2 things. And it's really hard to think of 2 things. So I always tell my students to just come up with 1 reason and give good enough example. And when you're telling the example, the sentence you say doesn't have to be that, complicated. I go with very normal everyday sentences talking about Tom and my personal experience, and I always get full marks. So some people think that, Gwen, because your, pronunciation is better, maybe that's the reason why you get better score. Well, then it's not about the sentence structure. It's about other performance. You got to have good, pronunciation. You got to have natural, intonation. It all plays a part in speaking. So it's not only about grammar or getting complex grammar structure or using difficult words, but it's about everything all together.
I have one more question. Do you actually have a friend named Tom?
Oh, no. I don't have a friend named Tom. But, actually, this is not, it's not something personal, but it is personal. But, Tom Cruise is a very popular and famous actor. And he's in Korea, he's called Tom 아저씨. So it's like Uncle Tom. Everybody loves Tom Cruise. But he's not one of my favorite actors. But still.
That's
Tom.
where the name is from.
Oh, well, not actually, but yeah, Tom. I don't have a friend named Tom.
Okay. Thank you very much and have a safe flight.
Thank you.
Oh, what are you going to have for dinner as soon as you come back to Korea?
Oh, I have watermelon. I bought a watermelon before coming
I thought
to.
you need something spicy.
No, I don't feel like eating anything spicy because this time I had lots of different kinds of food, spicy and not spicy. I even had McDonald's in Japan. So I think when I go back home, I want to have something very refreshing.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to have some watermelon for dinner.
Thank you.
Thank you.